I've got this bathroom model going, and I just heard from my electrician that he has coronavirus, which of course is bad for him and also his main crewman who also has it. That's terrible for them. Puts me in a very tight spot because he was supposed to start work like tomorrow or the next day on a bath remodel. And in the construction industry, to call a subcontractor and say, hey, I know I haven't been talking to you about this job at all, but could you start this week? It's not impossible, but it's pretty implausible that that's going to work. And yet I need to move as quickly as possible. So when I got that call, I didn't even do anything. I just was like, what am I going to do? I'm not sure what to do here. There's only been about 2 or 3 times in my career that something like this has happened because I plan out so far. My subs know when they're going to be lined up, sometimes a couple months in advance. And then I just keep them informed regularly, like at least once a week, every week and a half, as we're getting up to their part of the job. And then once we're within a week or so, I'm talking to them every day or two. So I really line up the airplanes so all the airplanes can land and take off in sequence on my jobs. This throws a significant monkey wrench into the works. How am I going to solve this? And I realized, okay, I already know how to fix this. And it's my cycle response board, which I've showed in other videos. But this one has 2 layers to it. I have a few electricians I knew I could call, but mainly in a situation like this, I'm going to need recommendations from other contractors and other subcontractors who might know and have worked around or used an electrician. So this is actually a board inside the board, and I'll show completed. And so I made a list. I'm going to turn this into a list so you can kind of see it all at once. I made a list of everybody I wanted to contact. These are subs and contractors that I wanted to contact to see. So I made a list of those and then made a little template, which was just send request, send a follow-up request if I don't hear from them, and then if they have some recommendations, move the recommendations to the board, or just cross them off if they tell me they don't really have anybody to recommend. I put it in a board format because when I have to track a whole bunch of threads that are peers of each other, I'm asking the same information from multiple sources or similar information from multiple sources. I need to track where I am for each thread. And so once I've sent Paul a request and a follow-up request, which in an hour I'll send him a follow-up request, and then I'll cross that off. So all I have to do with a cycle response page is just look across the top, and whatever that top bullet is the action I need to take. I quickly assess what the next action is, take it, move to the next one, and then cross it off, and then that bumps the next thing up to the top. So once I'm midway through this process and decided before it's finished to show you kind of the midstream process of a board like this. So as I'll show completed, so I sent out a request to Mike, and he sent me Dennis. I don't even know the guy's last name. He just has it listed as Dennis the electrician and Mike Holden. And I moved the recommendation to the board and then crossed him off. And then you'll see over here, Dennis the electrician and Mike Holden now are new electricians that I'm going to, I've actually already contacted them. So now up a level, now that I've sought recommendations, and I will cycle this whole board once an hour or so. It's such an important thing. There's nothing else I can do that's more important today, to be honest, in my life. This is the most important thing because this is going to be a significant hiccup. So I'm going to push through. And Jesse, by the way, hopefully you'll see this. It's not showing all of the cards for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. But if I jump in, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when I jump out, it's only showing 3, so there's some glitch there. Anyway, now I'm up to the main cycle response page. And the reason I call it cycle response is because I haven't thought of a cooler name for it yet, to be honest. But it is that. It's a cyclical, so I'm having to kind of turn this flywheel. I'm going to do it once an hour. I'm going to set a reminder for once an hour. And then I'm going to, when the reminder comes in, I'm going to go over to here, do whatever the top line is, then jump out to here and do whatever the top line is, and just move those forward. And so it's cyclical, and I'm tracking responses, my responses to them, their responses to me. So it's tracking responses. So I call it the right cycle response page. And so similarly to this board, now I just need to hit this top item. And then once I've run through it, I know I've done everything I know to do. And then I'll set a reminder for an hour, and then I'll hit it again. And I'll keep on trying to push those forward, hopefully with the goal that I'll get a couple of people say, yeah, I can work you in the next week, week and a half at the most, hopefully. And meet. So over here, Dennis and Mike, I have contacted them and heard back from them. Ken, I talked to the secretary at his office, and she said he would talk to him to see if he could work me in as a favor to my electrician, who's a friend of his, who has coronavirus. So I'm waiting to hear back from her. I talked to Dennis, and he said, yeah, he could meet me this afternoon to look at it and get me a price. And then I talked to Mike, and he's on a job, and said once he's done that job in Huntsville, he'll call me and hopefully can meet me today to look at the job. So I'll just keep on cranking this through. But this format, when you're trying to track not just a couple of things, but 5, 10, 15 things that are similar, really is orienting for me, to know I'm doing everything I can, and I all I have to do is just look at whatever the top bullet is, and that's really helpful to crank through a lot of information really quickly. Give it a try if you run into something like this. Might be helpful. I'm going to get back to cycling these responses so I can find an electrician. Keep your fingers crossed.